Wow, my eyes look terrible. Yeah, I'm so blaming the World Cup for this. Anyway, hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I talk about the NWSL, women's soccer, just soccer, only soccer. Yes, I'm very aware that I probably need more sleep. Anyway, in this video/podcast, I want to talk about what happened with Germany's women's national team in the World Cup, what led to their early exit, and the issues between the players, Martina voss-Tecklenburg, and the coaching staff. Before I go on, all sources I used in this video will be in the description below. I also want to add the articles I used are originally in German, and Google translated them over to English. There could be some things lost in translation, but I'll try to explain things to the best of my ability. Now, let's get into it. So, I like the Germany women's national team. They're a very successful national team with 2 World Cup wins and 8 Euro Championship wins. Germany has seen many talented and successful women's footballers like Birgit Prinz, Nadine Kessler, Tabea Kem, Nadine Ungerer, Sylvia Need, Alexandra Popp, and my personal favorite, Jennifer Marujan. Even now, the future of the German women's national team is still looking bright with players like Lea Schuler, Clara Bull, Laura Freigen, Cindy Lohmann, Merle Frams, Eula Brand, and fan favorite, Lena Oberdorf. But with all this talent on the national team, with all the talent Germany and the Frauen Bundesliga creates, what went wrong with Germany in their 2023 Women's World Cup run? Journalists, writers, and fans have pointed to many problems on the national team leading up to the 2023 World Cup. One of these problems had to do with lineup changes and tactics. Martina voss-Tecklenburg would often play players out of position, and this would obviously lead to confusion and uncertainty on the field and among the players. Her tactics and decisions in this World Cup were very questionable. A prime example of this was playing Svenja Huth, a forward, as a right back. Many fans question this because Svenja Huth isn't a defender. Even at her club, VfL Wolfsburg, Huth isn't played in the back line at all. I do get what voss-Tecklenburg was trying to do though. She wanted more attacking players on the field to help with Germany's attacking press. Huth in that right back position means Lena Magel can also be on the right wing. But the problem occurs when it's time for the back line to defend, which is something the back line has struggled to do in past matches. Once again, Huth is not a defender. She isn't going to have the same defending ability as experienced defenders like Kathy Henrik, Marina Hegring, Sarah Dorson, or Felicitas Rauch. Some might ask, KC, what if Germany was missing defenders? In that case, I can see an argument of playing Svenja Huth as a right back. Not really. But the thing is, Germany was not hurting for defenders. Even when Sarah Dorson and Felicitas Rauch got injured and couldn't continue in the World Cup, Germany still wasn't hurting for defenders. Sophia Kleinherne, a defender for Eintracht Frankfurt, could easily slip into that right back position while Huth could have stayed up top. Fans and journalists also question why Chantal Hegel, a midfielder who recently signed with VfL Wolfsburg, was playing as a left back after Felicitas Rauch got injured. I also questioned this too, but then I found out Hegel is a very flexible player, able to play as a central midfielder, center back, left back, and attacking midfielder. So I think I can give voss-Tecklenburg a pass when it comes to selecting Hegel for that left back position. However, at Wolfsburg, it's important to note Hegel will most likely be filling in that central midfield/attacking midfield position since the departure of Dutch midfielder Jill Roord to Manchester City. Tecklenburg's tactics especially come into question even more when you start to realize that there is an over-reliance on certain players. Leading up to the World Cup, fans would often joke about how the team falls apart without defensive midfielder Lena Oberdorf. Relying just on Oberdorf to keep things together in the midfield is not good in the long run, especially when a player like Oberdorf also needs support in the midfield. When it comes to Germany's attack, voss-Tecklenburg is also relying too heavily on Alex Popp. Look, I love Alex Popp. I probably like her more than Jennifer Marujan, who is one of my all-time favorite players ever. But when it comes to Popp, it's like voss-Tecklenburg's plans boil down to getting the ball to Popp by any means necessary, creating services, crosses, and chances for Popp to get on the end of. And the thing is, Popp is a very effective striker. She shows up in every game for both Germany and Wolfsburg. And you can almost count on her to score a goal. Or 3. The problem is there's an over-reliance on Popp to carry Germany's attack and score goals, when instead voss-tecklenburg should also be trying to develop and build confidence in attacking players like Clara Buhl, Leah Schuler, Eula Brand, Nicole Aniyomi, Laura Freigen, and so on. In an article by Noah Plachoko for T Online, he points out, a clear tactical plan was not recognizable from outside. The game plan was completely tailored to Alex Popp, but there was no plan B. And that's the thing. What's the plan B for when Popp decides to hang up her boots? The future of the DFB Frauen is Clara Buhl, Leah Schuler, Eula Brand, Nicole Aniyomi, Laura Freigen, Lena Oberdorf, Sophia Kleinherna, etc. But what is being done to prepare these players and the team for the future? In an article for Sport Build, Robert Schreier and Eric Peters pointed out there is a lack of communication between the coaching staff and players. The players didn't understand their role or what their tasks were on the field. They didn't know why one player played and why the other didn't. This was because the staff didn't explain it to them. The communication from the coaching staff dating back to the 2019 World Cup and the 2022 Women's Euro was described as distant and insufficient. Noah Plachoko points out dialogue with the national coach was also limited. There were players with whom voss-tecklenburg did not exchange a word with during the tournament. The DFB players were encouraged to report to the coach on their own, but did not want to rebel too much for fear of being labeled as difficult or exhausting. When it came to this World Cup, this lack of communication was very apparent in Germany's last group stage match against South Korea. After Morocco scored against Colombia, Germany needed to win their match against South Korea if they wanted to move on to the knockout stages. Germany went into the second half 1-1, and oddly enough, there was no change in how the team played. No urgency, intensity, or drive at all in the attack. Turns out voss-tecklenburg and the coaching staff didn't tell the players what the score was for the Morocco-Colombia match. In fact, voss-tecklenburg didn't tell the players until the 85th minute. Many fans described the players looking shocked and stunned after the match, and it makes sense. It's all the more sadder when you realize the players didn't know they were about to be knocked out until the 85th minute. Someone on Twitter posted this picture of Clara Buhl glaring at voss-tecklenburg, and honestly, you'd be angry too. You'd be angry as her when you hear the reason why voss-tecklenburg didn't tell the players. According to the Upfront Pod on Instagram, linked below, who's spoken to Lena Oberdorf after the game, voss-tecklenburg didn't tell the players at halftime because she didn't want to, quote, apply pressure to them. These are professional footballers. The players would probably feel less pressure at the start of the second half than they would in the 85th minute. People have said it doesn't matter what the score was between Morocco and Colombia. Germany should have played better. Yes, they should have, but I think things would have changed in regards to how the team approached the second half if they knew they were about to be knocked out. They would have gone into the second half with more urgency and intensity. I guarantee players would have been like, oh shit, we're about to be knocked out if we don't do something. Whereas you tell them in the 85th minute, what are they supposed to do with that information? It's the 85th minute. They only have 5 minutes plus extra time to get a goal. But at the same time, they're also processing this information, coming to the realization that their run is over. If they were told before the second half, maybe it would have made a difference, or maybe it would not. We will never know. What we do know is the poor communication from voss-tecklenburg and the coaching staff is one of the things that led to Germany's downfall in this World Cup. There was a lot of talk afterwards regarding the base camp of the national team. Some words that kept coming up was isolated, secluded, and quiet. DFB Frauen were based in Wyong, New South Wales, Australia, 100 kilometers or 62 miles away from Sydney. In their article for Sport Build, Schreier and Peters said the town of Wyong is very rural. The hotel is not modern. The players complained that they were freezing at night because the windows didn't close properly. Space to avoid cabin fever was limited. There was nothing to experience in the area except to caress koalas and kangaroos. Not a translation error. Caress, pet, it's the same thing. Chantal Ranke for Sport Buzzer talked more about the hotel. The base camp of the team, the Mercure Cooindal Waters Hotel, the approximately 70 members of the DFB staff live here. The players share apartments consisting of kitchen, dining, and living areas in pair. The McKirk Waters Hotel seems like a nice resort just going off the pictures. The reviews were mainly positive, lots of 4 and 5-star recent reviews, but I did see 1 and 2-star recent reviews as well. Obviously, reading reviews and looking at photos doesn't tell the whole story. Everyone's experiences differ when it comes to hotels and traveling. One person may enjoy the hotel and its amenities, while another person may not. In this case, the players may not have had the best experience at this hotel. Voss-Tecklenburg picked the area and hotel according to Schreier and Peters, but maybe she should have done more research. Maybe she should have gone with a more metropolitan downtown area so that the players could look around, explore, go to shops, cafes, restaurants, and bars in their leisure time. But what's happened has happened, and nothing can be done about it now. Many questions were raised about DFB Frauen's early exit from the World Cup. Fans were demanding change, saying Martina voss-Tecklenburg needed to step down or get sacked by the federation. Despite the evident failure at the World Cup and in the friendlies leading up to the World Cup, voss-Tecklenburg is refusing to resign and the DFB is standing with her. The players up to this point have been silent. Former German national team player Tabea Kem isn't silent though, and in an article she wrote for T Online after Germany's exit, where she even calls herself Eine Marionette des Systems, a puppet of the system, Kem says the problems with the DFB run deeper than fans, journalists, myself originally thought. It goes beyond Germany's failure in this World Cup and last year's World Cup farce with the men's national team. Kem writes, and this is an English translation, "Let's be honest, you don't need to analyze this tournament anymore. You have to go deeper. The fact is, we are completely behind in Germany, especially when it comes to training. Once again, we sleep through the moments when we have to fundamentally change something in the association for the professionalization of the league." When I criticized the lack of professionalism in the German league in a T Online interview before the World Cup in Australia, I got a call from the DFB immediately afterwards. I don't have the feeling that the association wants to change something from the inside, and suggestions from outside are blocked. We're talking about a highly in-depth association that now had to take the next sporting setback with the debacle of the women's team. That shows all the more that the DFB needs an impetus from outside. The fear of a loss of power is too great for those responsible. It is very obvious that changes are needing to take place, but I find it very interesting that as soon as Kem called out the lack of professionalism in the German league, she got a call from the DFB. That tells me that they would rather silence those speaking out rather than make the necessary changes. Players like Kem speaking out is a threat to those in power. Those in power don't want to have their authority questioned or criticized. I've personally encountered people like this. Honestly, imagine having this power to change things, to make things better for the women's team, to give them the tools to be on top of the world again, to win friendlies, World Cups, Olympic medals, and Euro trophies, but instead you go and use your power to call up a former player after she said something you didn't like. How powerful are you really? Do you deserve to be in a position of power if this is what you use it for? At the end of the day, changes are needing to happen. But if those in power aren't willing to make those changes, then we're back to square one, and both the women's national team and the men's national team are going to continue crashing and burning out of every major tournament. Though that is the reality and fate of Germany's men's and women's national teams if something isn't done. After Germany's exit, after demands for MVT out, after the articles and columns have been written, after all was said and done, more news is coming out in regards to what's next for the DFB Frauen National Team. On Thursday, August 17th, it was announced that former DFB Frauen and former VfL Wolfsburg player Nadine Kessler is set to succeed Oliver Bierhoff as DFB CEO. She will be responsible for managing the DFB Academy, the DFB Women's National Team, and the DFB Men's National Team. For those calling for Martina voss-Tecklenburg's resignation/sacking, MVT out, you will be disappointed. According to a new article for Sportbild by Robert Schreier and Eric Peters, as of Thursday, August 24th, voss-Tecklenburg will be allowed to continue as national team head coach, but with probation. Voss-Tecklenburg and her coaching staff faced a tough inquiry and were asked uncomfortable questions about what went wrong and how things will improve. Schreier and Peters also add the details are still being worked out in group and individual discussions. The rounds so far, however, are enough for the DFB to determine that there are no personal consequences in the short term. At the same time, the players did not position themselves against her, Martina Voss-Tecklenburg, in individual discussions with the DFB, were more self-critical of themselves and advocated for Voss-Tecklenburg, believing they can turn things around together. Players indicated that there were still clear mistakes made in the World Cup. Alex Popp indicates she wishes to remain as captain of the national team, and older players on the team, Svenja Huth, Marina Hagering, and Kathy Hendrick, also want to continue playing on the national team. The article then went on to say players miss former assistant coach Thomas Norenberg, who left the national team after the 2022 Euro for health reasons and now works as an assistant for HSV. It was interesting because the players said they missed what he brought to the coaching team, which was empathy, emotionality, and closeness. It seems as though after Norenberg left, there could have been some disconnect between the coaching staff and the players. I do think in order for the team, or any team for that matter, to be successful, there needs to be a level of empathy, understanding, and trust. If players don't feel like they're being heard or understood, or if they feel like they can't trust the coaching staff, it will just lead to more division and disconnection between the players and coaching staff. The Germany women's national team will have the UEFA Nations League and Olympic qualification in the upcoming months. It's hard for me to say what these upcoming months will hold. Will necessary changes be made? Will communication be better between the coaching staff and players? Will we start to see more development when it comes to the younger players on the team? As they say, only time will tell. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys today or tonight. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.